I had to park illegally. I parked along, but going back to the side.
The October 15th meeting of the Milltown Borough Council will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Council President Dixon.
Present.
Councilman Farkas.
Here.
Councilwoman Kerber. Absent. Councilman Legati.
Here.
Councilwoman Mayer.
Here.
Councilman Revelinsky.
Here.
And the mayor is absent. Council President, we have 5 present.
Thank you. Will the clerk please read the open public meeting statement?
Let the minutes reflect that adequate notice of the holding of this regular business meeting of the Borough Council was provided by the adoption of a resolution and the posting, filing, and forwarding of a copy of the same to the official Borough newspapers, Home News Tribune, and Star Ledger Publishing Companies on January 10, 2019. Public participation in this meeting will be permitted during public hearings and after the agenda of scheduled matters has been completed.
Thank you. Next, I'll ask all to rise for a moment of silence and salute to the flag. Seated. Next on the agenda, we have items for discussion. Tonight, we'll be presenting proclamations to the Milltown Little League Softball District 10 All-Star Team and the Milltown 10, 11, 12 Tournament Team. Can the All-Star Team and the coaches please join me up front for the presentation of their proclamations, as well as all the council members, please.
Oh shoot, the microphone's on the floor. Why is the microphone on the floor? Isn't it? The microphone's on the floor.
I don't know. I'm okay.
You still can see everybody.
What? Closed session?
I think it's
No,
ordinance.
I'm afraid that they're
public hearing.
It's on the
I don't think they should be able to pick them up.
Yeah.
All right, we'll make sure everybody gets their pictures taken.
My assumption was that person was never hired for summer, never
Ready? Okay. Can you hear me on this thing? Yeah. Not great? What are you going to do, loud? All right. Whereas Milltown Little League Softball District 10 All-Star Team competed in and won the District 10 League Championship for Little League Softball in New Jersey. And whereas the hard work, dedication, sportsmanship, talent, and exceptional tight-knit team chemistry enabled these athletes to win their first ever Little League Softball New Jersey District 10 Championship. And whereas the team consisted of players Lizzie Calandruccio, Caroline Citro, Ali Constantino, Charlie Kaminsky, Delane DiStefano, Ashley Freedom, Katie Frost, Megan LaVille, Maya Redondo, Ava Rodriguez, Sasha Sofer, Isabel Vitale, and Molly Walsh. And whereas the team was led by team manager Frank Calandruccio, coaches Larry Citro, Doug Redondo, Nick Vitale, and Kevin Walsh. And whereas T. Adam Armstrong said, champions do not become champions when they win the event, but in the hours, weeks, months, and years they spend preparing for it. The victorious performance itself is merely the demonstration of their championship character. Now, therefore, in honor and appreciation for the accomplishments of the Milltown Little League Softball District 10 All-Star Team and the dedication and support of their coaches and parents, I, Eric A. Sieber, Mayor of the Borough of Milltown, along with the Borough Council, do hereby congratulate the Milltown Little League Softball District 10 All-Star Team on their first Little League Softball New Jersey District 10 championship win. In witness thereof, I have hereto set my hand and caused the official seal of the Borough of Milltown to be affixed this 15th day of October, 2019. Congratulations to each and every one of you.
Oh, these are, actually, we have the boys too? Yep. Oh, just one for both, or?
Their names are on the back. It's always on the other end. Once again, congratulations to each and every one of you. You've earned it. Enjoy it. Now, I'm going to ask you to get back down, and we're going to bring up 10, 11, and 12 tournament team. They're here too. Okay. I want to know what happened to him. After he won, I hope. Okay. Whereas Milltown Little League Baseball 10, 11, 12 tournament team competed in and won the District 10 League Championship for Little League Baseball in New Jersey. And whereas this dedicated group of athletes has achieved a feat that has only been met one time prior in the history of Milltown Little League Baseball and surpassed the bar by also winning a game in sectional play, making them the most decorated team in Milltown history. And whereas the team consisted of players Jack Bisco, Carter Kaminsky, Bobby Duffy, Trey Lazar, Ryan Nunn, Tristan Orinsky, Tyler Olinsky, Ronald Peralta, Cody Rulo, Ryder Simpson, and Steven Spezio. And whereas the team was led by team manager Eric Oaksley and coaches Colin Kaminsky and Steve Spezio, and whereas Michael Jordan said, talent wins games, but teamwork and intelligence wins championships. Now, therefore, in honor of the appreciation for the accomplishments of the Milltown Little League Softball District 10 All-Star Team and the dedication and support of their coaches and parents, I, Eric A. Sieber, Mayor of the Borough of Milltown, along with the Borough Council, do hereby congratulate the Milltown Little League Softball District 10 All-Star Team on their first Little League Softball New Jersey District 10 championship win. In witness thereof, I set my hand and caused the official seal of the Borough of Milltown to be affixed this 15th day of October, 2019. Congratulations, guys. You earned it. Once again, thank you to all.
Thanks, Doug. You planning on talking?
I just wanted to say something.
Back on. Just be fair, for the cameras clear.
Okay.
Let's make them be quiet.
Okay.
You want to do when the mob's gone?
Yep. Well, I just wanted to.
Hey guys, just hang on a second. Guys, do me a favor, get out from in front of the camera.
Not that I didn't trust you. I just wanted to take a second to introduce myself. My name is Doug Redondo. I'm the new Little League president. And on behalf of the Milltown Little League, the players, the coaches, and the parents, we want to thank you for this event. So we appreciate it. Thank you.
Gentlemen, for representing us the way you did.
So we're going to be celebrating at the Grove after this, so you guys are more than welcome to join us.
Thanks,
In the back room. In the back room, of course, yeah.
All right, let's speed this along then.
Thank you, guys. Have fun.
Get to the Grove.
It's not the library. All right, I got crap.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Take care.
Thank you.
You say that, but my parents were already like, it's Tuesday, and it's not even first Tuesday, it's not even, don't worry, because where are you? I'm like, oh my God. Because they were at my house looking for me. I'm not there.
Holy cow.
It's ridiculous.
Reading all that?
Yeah, I got it. I have no choice. Gabriella kills me.
She's fun.
Ron, did you turn off the other mic? Did you turn off the other mic? Thank you. No, we won't. We'll start. No, you won't get feedback.
All right, next on the agenda, we have miscellaneous engineering items. Michael?
Yes, Councilman President Dixon. As they say, it's a tough act to follow, but we just have a couple items I want to go through with you quickly tonight. First thing on our list is that we're happy to report that the force main has been repaired and we are back in operation, and we're getting numbers in from the contract. It appears they're within budget as originally reported. So we will let you know officially at the next meeting, but we're pleased to report that it has been repaired, and it was a difficult repair. Without going through a lot of the detail, the contractor performed well. Your folks have helped, and obviously it was nice to get it completed. It was a very critical repair because of the liner, and without going through the boring engineering details, we're happy to say it's been put to bed, so to speak. Next to report is the work on the substation demolition. The former substation demolition is proceeding. We're about 95% complete. We are going through the final punch list items with regard to the demolition, and we'll keep you posted by your next meeting of the status there. The water tank, as you all know by now, is back in service. The mixer is up and running, and we are completing the final items with the exception to the installation of the logo. We are working with the Borough's insurance company relative to various questions they have as time comes on with regard to the settlement with T-Mobile on the painting. Municipal aid grant applications have been sent in, and we have tonight on your agenda second reading on the ordinance for Tracy Drive. And that work, just to let you know and re-advise you, the proposed improvements to Tracy Drive include repairs to existing roadway base, storm drainage, replacement of concrete sidewalk and curbing where necessary, handicap ramp improvements, milling, resurfacing existing roadway with hot mixed asphalt, and maintenance protection of traffic during improvements, landscaping, restoration, and other related work. And if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them now.
Mike, regarding Tracy Drive,
Yes.
under drain?
Yeah, what we've done in the past with the borough is to go through and install the underground where we have sump pumps, so they'll be installed where they're there.
'Cause
That's
I
what
know,
the storm drain improvements are.
Yeah, there's a few residents, or at least one home I know that has constantly running water out from the curb to the home. The neighbors are dealing with it. The home is at least being maintained at this time, but it is a big nuisance for them. So in my discussions with those residents, there are several who have sump pumps.
It's
over
part of the
there.
job. That's right. That's all we have.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to audience comments. Next on the agenda is comments from the audience. If any member of the public wishes to speak on the items listed on the agenda meeting, please step forward and say your name and address for the record. These comments are limited to the items discussed at the agenda meeting.
Phil Zambrana, 40 Van Loo Avenue. It's a quick question. I know that I passed through North Brunswick on my way to New Brunswick, and there was an entire street that was redone. So when they do Tracy Drive, does the borough or does the contractor, do the residents have the chance to redo their sidewalk and their driveway at their cost? Is that something that comes into play or not?
Well, the extent of the sidewalk repair is really related to what we have to do with the driveway. Sometimes the borough's project's going to include sidewalk repair, but certainly if our limits stop and the homeowner wants to do sidewalks and driveways, they're certainly permitted to contract directly with the contractor. But that's something that is outside your payment, and they do that directly with a private contractor.
They did a nice job over in the street, right off of Chrome Street, the entire street, and I think everybody took it off. So every driveway, every sidewalk is pristine.
Yeah, I think they may have done all the sidewalks over there,
Yeah.
part of their budget, yeah.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Just a
Is there any other audience comments?
Just a clarification on that, in case anyone does wind up down the road soliciting the contractor that's on site. So if anyone drives down and sees the contractor doing driveway work, it's not the borough paying for it. That is the homeowner who has just elected to use the proximity of the contractor to do their work.
Yeah, is there any other audience comments? Seeing none, I'll ask from the German.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We will take a 5-minute recess and we'll be back. Thank you.
Yep.
The October 15th meeting of Milltown Borough Council will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Council President Dixon?
Here.
Councilman Farkas?
Here.
Councilwoman Kerber?
Present.
Councilman Legati?
Here.
Councilwoman Mayer?
Here.
Councilman Revelinsky?
Here.
And the mayor is absent. Council President, we have 6 present.
Thank you. Will the clerk please read the open public meeting statement?
Let the minutes reflect that adequate notice of the holding of this regular business meeting of the Borough Council was provided by the adoption of a resolution and the posting, filing, and forwarding of a copy of the same to the official Borough newspapers, Home News Tribune, and Star Ledger Publishing Companies on January 10, 2019. Public participation in this meeting will be permitted during public hearings and after the agenda of scheduled matters has been completed.
Thank you. Next, will please stand for a moment of silence and salute to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next on the agenda, we have minutes. What is the council's pleasure for the minutes of September 23rd, 2019 meeting?
Move that these minutes be adopted.
Second.
We have a motion to accept and seconded. And will the clerk please call the roll?
Council President Dixon?
Aye.
Councilman Farkas?
Aye.
Councilwoman Kerber?
Abstain.
Councilman Legati?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mayer?
Aye.
Councilman Revelinsky?
Aye.
Council President, we have 5 ayes and 1 abstention.
Thank you. Moving on, next on the agenda, we have public hearings. The following ordinances have been published according to law, and copies have been made available to the public prior to this meeting. Will the clerk please read ordinance 19-1476 by title only?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 2 Administration, Section 100, Fees for Municipal Services of Revised General Ordinances of the Borough of Milltown, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey.
I will now open a public hearing for ordinance 19-1476. If anyone in the audience has anything they wish to say about this ordinance, please step to the microphone and give your name and address for the record. Seeing none, I will close public comment. Council will make a motion and second to approve.
Make a motion that the ordinance be adopted on second and final reading and that be published according to law.
I second.
Okay.
Give it to the lady.
Fight.
We have a motion and a second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Council President Dixon?
Aye.
Councilman Farkas?
Aye.
Councilwoman Kerber?
Aye.
Councilman Legati?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mayer?
Aye.
Councilman Revelinsky?
Aye.
Council President, we have 6 ayes.
Thank you. Will the clerk please read ordinance 19-1477 by title only?
Bond ordinance providing for improvements to Tracy Drive, appropriating $625,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $231,000 bonds and notes to finance a portion of the cost thereof, authorized in and by the Borough of Milltown and the County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey.
Thank you. Now we'll open this ordinance to public hearing. If anyone in the audience has anything they wish to say about this ordinance, please step to the microphone, give your name and address for the record. Seeing none, I will close public comment and ask for a vote.
Move that the ordinance be adopted on second and final reading and published according to law.
Second.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Council President Dixon?
Aye.
Councilman Farkas?
Aye.
Councilwoman Kerber?
Aye.
Councilman Legati?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mayer?
Aye.
Councilman Revelinsky?
Aye.
Council President, we have 6 ayes.
Thank you. Will the clerk please read ordinance 19-1478 by title only?
Bond ordinance providing for improvements to the Church Street Pump Station, Forest Main, appropriating $500,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $500,000 bonds and notes to finance a portion of the cost thereof, authorized in and by the Borough of Milltown and County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey.
Thank you. I will now open the public hearing for ordinance 19-1478. If anyone in the audience has anything they wish to say about this ordinance, please step to the microphone and give your name and address for the record. Seeing none, I will close public comment and ask for a motion from the council.
I move that ordinance number 19-1478 be adopted on first reading, published, or second final reading, and be published according to law.
Second.
We have a motion and seconded. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Council President Dixon?
Aye.
Councilman Farkas?
Aye.
Councilwoman Kerber?
Aye.
Councilman Legati?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mayor?
Aye.
Councilman Revelinsky?
Aye.
Council President, we have 6 ayes.
Thank you. Next, will the clerk please read ordinance 19-1479 by title only?
An ordinance of the Borough Council of the Borough of Milltown amending Borough Code Chapter 34 Comprehensive Development.
Okay. I will now open the public hearing for ordinance 19-14. What am I reading here? 7-6. If anyone in the audience has anything they wish to say about this ordinance, please step to the microphone and give your name and address for the record.
Phil Zambrana, 40 Van Loo Avenue. I just have actually two questions for ordinance 19-1479. So I understand there's going to be a municipal housing liaison and an administrative agent. They're going to be hired. Will they become full-time borough employees or not employees with the borough?
Not employees of the borough. I thought they weren't ours, that they were the responsibility of the developer.
The administrative agent, do you want me to speak with the microphone?
Yeah.
Yeah, can you come to my?
For the record, I'm Liz Laney from Phillips Price. The municipal housing liaison has to be a employee of the municipality. And it's usually just a portion of an existing employee's position. An administrative agent can be, and often is, paid for by the developer. It doesn't have to be. Sometimes the municipal housing liaison also acts as an administrative agent, but for most developments, the developer has an administrative agent that they pay for.
So it can be the same person, or does it have to be two different people?
The municipal housing liaison and the administrative agent, if it's done, for the municipality, can be the same person.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion and ask for a council vote.
Make a motion that the ordinance be adopted on second and final reading and be published according to law.
I second.
Motion been made and seconded. Can the clerk please call the roll?
Council President Dixon?
Aye.
Councilman Farkas?
Aye.
Councilwoman Kerber?
Aye.
Councilman Legati?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mayor?
Aye.
Councilman Revelinsky?
Aye.
Council President, we have 6 ayes.
Thank you. Next, will the clerk please read ordinance 19-1480 by title only?
An ordinance of the Borough Council of the Borough of Milltown amending Borough Code Chapter 34 Comprehensive Development.
Thank you. I will now open the public hearing, ordinance 19-1480. If anyone in the audience has anything wish to say about this ordinance, please step up to the microphone and give your name and address for the record. Seeing none, we'll close public comment and ask for council motion.
Make a motion that this ordinance be adopted on second and final reading and published according to law.
I second.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded, and I'll ask the clerk please to call the roll.
Council President Dixon?
Aye.
Councilman Farkas?
Aye.
Councilwoman Kerber?
Aye.
Councilman Legati?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mayor?
Aye.
Councilman Revelinsky?
Aye.
Council President, we have 6 ayes.
Thank you. Next, will the clerk please read ordinance 19-1481 by title only?
An ordinance of the Borough Council of the Borough of Milltown amending the redevelopment plan known as the Milltown Ford Avenue redevelopment plan.
Okay. I will now open a public hearing for ordinance 19-1481. If anyone in the audience has anything they wish to say about this ordinance, please step to the microphone and give your name and address for the record. Seeing no one, I will close public comment and ask the council for a motion.
Make a motion that the ordinance be adopted on second and final reading and be published according to law.
I second.
Motion been made and seconded. Clerk, please take the roll. Call the roll.
Council President Dixon?
Aye.
Councilman Farkas?
Aye.
Councilwoman Kerber?
Aye.
Councilman Legati?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mayer?
Aye.
Councilman Revelinsky?
Aye.
Council President, we have 6 ayes.
Thank you. Next, moving on, we're going to have comments from the audience on resolutions. If any member of the public wishes to speak on the resolutions, please step forward and say your name and address for the record. These comments are limited to the resolutions listed on the agenda.
Phil Zambrana, 40 Van Loo Avenue. Resolution 19265 talks about advertisement of bids, source capture, exhaust removal systems for the department, for the fire department and the public works garage. So my question is, was that included in the original budget, or is that in addition to?
That's included.
It is
It's
included.
not going to be an additional expenditure.
And do we have any idea what that number is, or that's kind of hard to say at this point?
It's hard to say right now.
Okay.
It's anticipated to be over the bid threshold, and that's why we're going out to bid for that.
Okay. Is that something that's usually, is that something that's, it's probably not in the current firehouse, I would assume? That sort of exhaust system?
Well, the exhaust system is for having the vehicles housed having the vehicles housed inside the building, so that it'll make it safer to
So
get the fumes
this
out.
is a cost because all of the trucks and vehicles will be inside as opposed to outside?
Correct.
Thank you.
Is there any other comments from the audience on the resolution? If not, moving on, we'll get to the bill list. Will the clerk please read the bill resolution 19259?
Authorizing the payment of bills, claims, and statements against the Borough of Milltown in the total amount of $5,288,783.08.
Council's heard the bill list. I need a motion.
Move that this resolution be adopted.
I second. Oh.
Motion been made and seconded. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Council President Dixon?
Aye.
Councilman Farkas?
Aye.
Councilwoman Kerber?
Aye.
Councilman Legati?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mayer?
Aye.
Councilman Revelinsky?
Aye.
Council President, we have 6 ayes.
Next, we have reports of standing committees and introduction of resolutions. Consent resolution are prepared to cover the resolutions listed on the agenda. If any member of the council wants any resolution acted upon individually, please give me the resolution number and it will be pulled from the consent agenda.
Yes, Council President, 19262.
I'm sorry, 19.
262.
Is there any other resolutions you wish to be pulled? Will the clerk please read the consent agenda, leaving 19266?
262.
262. I was close. 262.
Yes. Whereas pursuant to the rules of the council may establish a consent agenda for any regular or special meeting, and whereas the Borough Clerk has posted a consent agenda for this meeting, now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Borough Council of the Borough of Milltown, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, that the consent agenda previously prepared by the Borough Clerk be approved without the necessity of having the individual resolutions read by the Borough Clerk.
Council's heard the resolution. I need a motion and a second.
Make a
Move that
motion
this-
that the resolution be adopted.
Second.
Okay. Clerk, please call the roll.
Council President Dixon?
Aye.
Councilman Farkas?
Aye.
Councilwoman Kerber?
Aye.
Councilman Legati?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mayer?
Aye.
Councilman Revelinsky?
Aye.
Council President, we have 6 ayes.
Thank you. Will the clerk please read Resolution 19262?
Authorizing certain personnel actions, recreation, sack, and pool.
Okay. And what is the council's pleasure with this?
Move that this resolution be adopted.
Second.
Any discussion on this?
Yes, I asked for this one to be pulled. I'm hoping our business administrator might be able to explain something here, as one of these effective dates is 5/22/19, and why it's occurring now as opposed to back then.
So this hiree was left off in error of the list of hirees for the pool. So just to, a bit of housekeeping and cleanup, had to formally appoint them.
Very good.
What's the pleasure of the council?
Call the roll.
Call the roll.
Council President Dixon?
Aye.
Councilman Farkas?
Aye.
Councilwoman Kerber?
Aye.
Councilman Legati?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mayor?
Aye.
Councilman Revelinsky?
Aye.
Council President, we have 6 ayes.
Thank you. Moving on, we're now going to the council reports. First is Department of Finance, Administration and Planning, which is chaired by myself. This evening, I have no full report, but I have asked our borough auditor, Mr. Stankiewicz, who is in the process of gathering information, and once, I'm assuming within a week or so, I hope before the next meeting, we'll be having a finance meeting, and we'll be discussing certain items that have come up before the
Okay.
and that's the end of my report. Moving on, we're going to move to the Department of Public Safety, chaired by Councilman Nicholas Legati.
Thank you, Council President. I do have a lengthy report tonight, so sorry. Milltown Police Department monthly report. Between September 5th, 2019 and September 30th, 2019, police have received and answered 1,230 calls for service. Police conducted a total of 301 motor vehicle stops, which include special traffic enforcement and drunk driver details. 80 radar details were conducted in various locations during this period. Police responded to 17 motor vehicle accidents and made 10 arrests, which include shoplifting, drugs, theft, and warrant arrests. The Milltown Police continue working with Public Works to install new traffic safety signs in various locations, including improvements to some of our school crossings. The Milltown Police Department has recently passed our annual Department of Corrections detention facility inspection, where the inspector found his agency in full compliance with state regulations. The Milltown Police Department continues to maintain all required training and continues to maintain a high accreditation standards for the best police practices. We are currently accepting applications for part-time dispatchers and part-time crossing guards. Residents commuting on Riders Lane should expect delays starting on October 10th through October 15th today due to paving. Riders Lane is a county road, and all questions should be directed to the Middlesex County Road Department. Police encourage residents to remain vigilant and report suspicious activity, traffic concerns to 732-828-1100 or at www.milltownnj.org. Thank you, Chief Brian Kennelly. The Milltown Fire Department monthly report. Total number of fire calls, 14. Total number of training details for the month, 3. Total number of work details for the month, 5. Total number of meeting details, 1. Total incidents for the month, 23. Membership. New member Phil Palmer has completed his 6-month-long Firefighter 1 training at the Middlesex County Fire Academy. Okay. Now, I would, if you would indulge me to read something that was from the Home News Tribune. I will start it. It says, "Congratulations. Your business has won the coveted Home News Reader's Choice Award for 2019. Every year, as we ask readers to select the best of the best in Middlesex County, They have casted record-numbered votes online this year for different categories, including eating, drinking, entertainment, people and services, and shopping. The readers have spoken and the votes have been tallied, and our readers have selected you to receive the Best of Middlesex County reward. We will be making the winners public in a special keepsake edition winner tab on Thursday, November 14th, 2019. Our customers and fans with the souvenir addition to the Home News. Attached, you will find additional information advisory. Again, on behalf of the Home News Tribune and the MyCentralJersey.com, congratulations to the winnings of the very distinguished award. Now, not only did we win one, but we won two, because we have the Home News Tribune, Best in Middlesex County, Best Fire Department. And that's very good. And also, the Home News Tribune, Best in Middlesex County, Milltown Rescue Squad. I think that both of our rescue squad and our fire department should be very proud of that. It shows that people are taking the time to make sure that everybody knows that they're doing a great job. My last thing is I enjoyed Milltown Day, and as the chair of Public Safety, it was nice to see that our rescue squad, our police department, and our fire department were well represented on Milltown Day. I got my police pen. I promised them I would be using it at every council meeting, so I kept my promise. But that concludes my report.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from the Department of Utilities, chaired by Councilwoman Trina Muir.
Thank you, Council President. I wanted to thank Mr. McClellan for the update on the force main this evening. That was quite an operation. We actually had a small gas leak while the repairs were going on, and we thank the Milltown Fire Department for responding so quickly, and also thanks to those who gave out the notification to the residents. And also I'd like to thank the residents of East Church Street for their patience and understanding while that major work went on their small street. There was a lot of equipment, and they were appreciative to know what was going on. In relation to the PSE&G and the gas leak, we're going to set up a meeting with the representative from PSE&G to local government, because we were unable to do some of the repairs at the site while the gas leak was being addressed, and the Montana workers were out that we just bonded for, so we want to see if we can get to some accommodation since the workers weren't able to complete their tasks. At our last meeting, I mentioned that the force main has been an issue. As Mike knows, it's one of the biggest issues we faced. And when I took over utilities, he let me know that it was a ticking time bomb, and we just had the $500,000 bond for that. So I had sent a letter to the county. I had reached out to the state, and I actually went to a freeholders meeting last month. And on Friday, I received a letter back from the Board of Chosen Freeholders, which I'll read to you. So it's dated October 11th, 2019. Dear Councilwoman Mayor, I am writing in response to your letter dated September 6, 2019, and subsequent comments provided at the September 19th, 2019 meeting of the Middlesex County Board of Chosen Freeholders. Following these communications, I asked our county administration and the Middlesex County Utilities Authority to identify ways in which we could collaborate to help the borough address some of the water infrastructure issues which you outlined. As you are no doubt aware, Milltown is currently an MCUA member, paying its rates in a pass-through capacity from New Brunswick. It is clear from the issues you've been experiencing with the force main at the Church Street pump station that this infrastructure has exceeded its service life. This provides the borough and the county an opportunity to improve that critical infrastructure as part of a regional wastewater strategy. We understand that in the past, the borough has explored options for improving this system, including the possibility of establishing a direct connection to the MCUA system. The MCUA would be willing to do the necessary engineering study, cost evaluations, and ultimately provide recommendations for the most effective solution long-term to this issue. Should the borough elect to join the MCUA system directly, the MCUA would be willing to participate as a project partner by covering the professional services costs for this project. These costs range anywhere from 10 to 15% of the project, which we anticipate would save Milltown between $1.2 million to $1.7 million. Inclusive in this would be items such as engineering costs, bond counsel, and any professional services deemed appropriate. Finally, there is normally a connection fee associated with directly connecting to our main trunk sewer line. We believe that having Milltown become a direct connection to the MCUA main trunk line will ultimately result in a more efficient infrastructure and benefit both the borough and the county's regional utilities strategy. As a result, the MCUA would be willing to waive any of those fees. Pursuing this strategy to resolve the force main issue should provide the borough the benefit of freeing up resources and savings, which can in turn be invested in improvements to your municipal drinking water infrastructure. The county stands ready to partner in this area as well by providing opportunities for financing with our AAA bond rating, assistance with financial planning, or other resources. I would be happy to convene a meeting with you and your team, along with our director and county administrator and other relative stakeholders to explore these topics. Sincerely, Ronald Rios, Freeholder Director. So, coming up shortly, I will put a utilities meeting together so that we can discuss the various options with our engineer and our utility committee. And furthermore, speaking of the water issues, we will continue to work to collaborate with the county as well as the state. I've spoken to our assemblyman who is aware of our problem. You know, I think a lot of times Milltown is a small town. We don't have the resources to tackle these things on our own, so we're going to keep trying to collaborate with the state and with the county to deal with our utility issues. And that concludes my report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have the Department of Public Works and Recycling, chaired by Councilwoman Dorian Kerber.
Thank you, Council President. We have the, along with all scheduled curbside collections, DPW has the following report. A dangerous tree on North Main Street was removed. On Southbrook Drive, brush and trees were trimmed back out of the roadway. The footbridge had boards secured. The broken library fence in the rear of the building was repaired. Bushes at the library were removed at the request of the library staff. A new light was installed in front of the library. 25-mile-per-hour roadway stencils have been painted around town and will be ongoing. Road repairs have taken place on Clay Street in Renault. Soccer field has been painted for the fall season. Fields have been prepped for fall ball and recreation t-ball. DPW provided an operator and driver to assist the utility department on a water main break. Poolside and pool have been covered for the winter season. Sign repair is ongoing. Pothole repair is also ongoing. Leaf bags are just that. Leaf bags are for leaves only. They are available on Saturdays from 9 to noon at the recycling building, which is behind the senior center parking lot. When you do the leaf bags, make sure they're put out on your garbage day. Milltown Day was a huge success with many residents stopping by the Public Works table. Please check Channel 15 and milltownnewjersey.org for DPW updates. On October 26th, Saturday morning, we will be having a New Jersey Clean Communities cleanup from 8:30 to 11 a.m. So we do have a number of volunteers who have been reaching out to me. So if you'd like to help us, that would be great. And in terms of Sunday, this Sunday is the Mayor's Wellness Campaign, October 20th. We will be having the Milltown Diabetes Walk and Health Fair at Mill Pond Park. And we're just going to go the length of the path and back. So if you would like to join us, all the proceeds goes to the Junior Diabetes Research Foundation. And we hope to see you there. And that concludes my report.
Thank you.
What time is that, Dorian?
8:30 to noon.
Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from the Department of Environmental Health and Social Services, chaired by Councilman Randy Farkas.
Thank you. No report tonight, Council President.
Thank you, sir. Next, we'll hear from the Department of Recreation, chaired by Councilman Richard Revelinsky.
Thank you, Ron. This evening's Recreation SAC pool report for October 15th. SAC parents, please check your inbox for an email from the SAC office regarding our new SAC registration program, Community Pass. Now, if you'll recall, we talked about this online registration. You can pay at once instead of having to keep coming down to the window and pay everything online. Once your child is registered on there, you'll have the information set up so you can register them for other sports as they become available. Please follow the link in your email to set up your family account. You will have a deadline to set up your family account. As for recreation, the youth basketball registration will be available for the 3rd week of October. Coming in the fall of 2020, we will be introducing Fundamental Fours flag football and Fundamental Fours flyers for cheerleading. For 4-year-olds, keep a lookout. And also keep a lookout for upcoming events and details in the spring. All fall programs are up and running. There is still room for men's basketball and adult volleyball. Fall adult yoga is full. And please note that recreation programs are subject to cancellation at any time by the Board of Education as school functions take precedence. We will try our best to reschedule and notify you ahead of time. Thank you for your cooperation, and that is the end of the report.
Thank you, sir. Moving on, we have the introduction of ordinances. Will the clerk please read ordinance 191482 by title only?
An ordinance of the Borough Council of the Borough of Milltown amending Borough Code Chapter 4 General Licensing and Business Regulations.
Council's pleasure.
Move that the ordinance be adopted at first reading, published according to law, and that a public hearing be held at our next regularly scheduled council meeting on Monday, October 28th at 7 p.m. in council chambers in Borough Hall.
Second.
Thank you.
Motion been made and seconded. The clerk please call the roll.
Council President Dixon?
Aye.
Councilman Farkas?
Aye.
Councilwoman Kerber?
Aye.
Councilman Legati?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mayer?
Aye.
Councilman Revelinsky?
Aye.
Council President, we have 6 ayes.
Okay, we have one more ordinance. Will the clerk please read ordinance 191483 by title only?
An ordinance of the Borough Council of the Borough of Milltown amending Milltown Borough Code Chapter 5 Animal Control.
Okay. What's the council's? Need a motion?
I move that the ordinance be adopted on first reading, published according to law, and that a public hearing be held at our next regularly scheduled council meeting on Monday, October 28th at 7 p.m. in council chambers in Borough Hall.
I second.
Motion been made and seconded. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Council President Dixon?
Aye.
Councilman Farkas?
Aye.
Councilwoman Kerber?
Aye.
Councilman Legati?
Aye.
Councilwoman Mayer?
Aye.
Councilman Revelinsky?
Aye.
Council President, we have 6 ayes.
Thank you. Note that the public hearing on both these ordinances will take place on October 28th, 2019 at 7 p.m. in the council chambers. Moving on, we'll go on to old business. Does any member of the council have any old business to bring before the council?
Actually, yeah, just curious about what we have available, what we can do. I guess this is more of a question for Mike and Mr. Bruder in regards to our lead services. To me, it seems that we're sitting on borrowed time, that with one more exceedance for any sort of lead service within town, that we're going to have to put in the corrosion inhibitor. We've gotten that letter clear as day from the state, so I was just wondering if we've been able to evaluate anything in regard to utilizing certain funds or what the cost of that system would be, and if the council has an appetite for offsetting the cost of installation for a system and future maintenance thereof to offset some of the costs for residents who have been working with us in the lead service program to date.
Well, one thing I can mention is that last week there was legislation approved at the state level to help fund replacement of lead service. So it's something that perhaps the municipality should be looking into, to make an application for those funds directly from the state. And I think federally, there's also consideration of legislation to compel the replacement of lead services nationwide.
Is that to compel municipalities or to compel homeowners?
Homeowners, but I don't know who it's not completed yet, that legislation. If there's a movement in Congress to make that change, and I think it's recommended by US EPA. So for the more immediate moment, there should be exploration of funds that may now be available at the state level to fund the replacement of lead service lines.
And as we've reported here, the Infrastructure Trust will assist with the cost through low-interest loans. There is a program that they have which will fund the entire cost, but attached to that, unfortunately, is a income level parameter, which I think that initial looking at it, the borough wouldn't be eligible. But because of the pressure that's come under with both in the news and in the state and nationwide, I think that we keep an eye on it. So we will take another look. Obviously, to the extent that the grants could be obtained by either by the residents or by the borough, that I thought would be ideal. Because somewhere, we're not sure exactly how many lead services you have. It's unfortunate because until you actually go into the homes or dig up the service, you can't be sure. But average, let's say, the general thing is about 20, maybe 25 services. But if that could be obtained through a grant program, that'd be ideal. We'll keep looking to the extent we can find something.
I'd like to offer it up to, I see our esteemed Assemblyman Danielson is here tonight, if he had any input on that legislation as well, considering that from what I heard, it was somewhere to the tune of $500 million that the state was looking to set aside for lead services. And given light of how much it was for the city of Newark to do theirs, I think it was somewhere around $200 million that they're spending for just the city of Newark. So again, it kind of leads me to believe that Milltown is going to be left holding the bag, that we're going to be focusing on a lot of inner cities and lower income levels rather than some other folks like small municipalities like ourselves that are going to have a hard time, whether it be forcing folks to replace their lead services or to comply, because quite frankly, by the time that legislation comes out, we'll probably have 2 more samples taken within our system, possibly 3 by the time any awards are made for those fees. So, Assemblyman, I don't know if you have the ability to comment on that, if you could update us as the status of that legislation.
I don't. I apologize. It's just not my area of high knowledge.
I can't add that the state did pass a law, probably in the last, and it started at the Assembly, I think, wherein they allowed the borough to utilize bonds. Now, it's not obviously, you still have to pay it back, but prior to this, you couldn't use public money to do work for private entities or private services. So there's a big change from the years that I've been involved in this business, for about 40. You couldn't actually use those public funds to do private improvements, which is a major move in that direction. Unfortunately, though, it's obviously bonds are like loans, and you have to pay them back. But that's a major move that didn't happen before.
Just as I had mentioned before, Jersey Waterworks was responsible for spearheading this whole program, and they presented this last week to the governor. And I can provide that information and forward it to you. It gives you more details for what they've discussed. There's a strategy plan that's in that email. They have it on their newsletter, so I could forward it to everybody so they have the information. And it's in the works, of course. I'm not sure how it's structured, and I didn't get the chance to read it. I was working all day the last couple days, so I'll forward that newsletter. And I suggest you signing up for Jersey Waterworks, even if it's just for the newsletter. They really do spearhead a lot of programs, particularly about water programs, about watersheds and other things. We're going to be coming out with municipal outreach. They're spearheading that for 2020. A lot of great things are coming out of it. Also, how collaboration on the combined sewer overflows. As you know, they were great in the past. It's not for today. And of course, dams are being looked at to be removed as well, because of all the flooding that's occurring. So I will have an update. I'm still been sick, so I didn't want to bring that today, but I will give summary information at the next meeting, all the work that they've done to accomplish it. Also about the Finance Committee and what will be there.
So So for the lead replacement, would that be from the curb to the house or from the main to the house?
The unfortunate part is that you must go to the meter in your town, so from the main to the house is the
Correct.
answer. And
So when we say that we're going to replace the lead service lines, as I mentioned last meeting, I paid thousands of dollars because I had a leak in my water service line. So I'm sure I wouldn't be benefiting from anything going forward. It was a copper line from the curb to my home. However, it was a lead line from the main to the curb. So, you know, how would we go about replacing all of those when we'd have to dig up all of the streets in Milltown? I mean, Richter Avenue is a concrete street. I would imagine that if I have a lead service line from the main, and somebody must have replaced it with copper years ago, but it would probably be the same all along several of those streets in that section of town, right, Mike?
yeah, there is a way to replace the service without excavating the road. You basically do a tap at the main, and then because of the way the old service is set up, you can pull the new pipe through. But I think that the Borough Council would have to make a policy decision how much, what you would do. Obviously, the piece from the curb to the main is where the big expense is, because usually in the case of a concrete road, the cost to replace it, even if you do this method of excavating down to the connection, it does cut the cost down. Assuming it works, sometimes it doesn't. But generally, the state looks at really a need to do the whole service from the main to the house.
Okay.
But that's a policy decision that the governing body would have to make.
Well, Mike, don't we have, isn't there requirements already within the, whether it's the building code or the plumber's code, that you cannot connect to lead? So if you had to replace your service within your front lawn between the curb and the meter, and you dug down at the valve box and realized that you were actually connected to lead, you now have to replace all the way into the street.
Yeah, that's my understanding of the plumbing code, that's right.
My thought, and the reason I brought this up, was we have quite a few residents who have volunteered. They've done the sampling alongside us, and a few have expressed to me that their holdback is not necessarily the cost of doing the work within their property limits, but it's the cost between the curb and the main. So the thought here was, if the corrosion inhibitor that would be required is, and I'll just throw a number at it, $40,000, and it would cost us $20,000 a year to operate, would we have, as a council, a pallet to at least offer some assistance to the residents who are already within this program doing the sampling for us to cover portions of the cost for replacing their lead services, just the street portion, just to help offset, whether that's in-kind services by us doing the excavation for them and their plumber can come out, or us at least providing the asphalt in bulk for the roadway repair, because I think that's a lot of where the cost comes in, and some folks have expressed that it's upwards of $5,000 just for the street portion, whereas the home portion or from the curb to the meter is only around $2,500 or $3,000. So
That's great.
So I don't know if the council would be interested in evaluating that and considering this for the folks who are in our program, because if you remember, the way the lead sampling requirements go is you have folks that have lead services have to be on the list if we know about them, and then the rest fall within a certain age of home. So Councilwoman Mayor, I don't know the age of your home, and I'm not going to guess, but I know Richter, being a concrete street, is probably older than the 1974 or 1982 to 86 deadline from which we would have to have the sampling pool. So
Correct.
they would kind of fall without our sampling parameters anyway.
That's right.
So it's just something that if we have to take samples from these particular homes, we should consider hedging our bet, because I know the public outcry against a corrosion inhibitor was pretty loud. So before we wind up having to put one in, we should probably think about this, and if everyone's in agreement, offer it up to those residents who are at least within the program already.
Also, within that newsletter, they are starting to map who has lead services, so you'll be able to review that as well. It was kind of difficult to see everything because I was looking at the smaller version of it, So they are starting to work on mapping and finding out who does have lead services, and that's, I know, a requirement coming up through the state DEP, because they want to make sure everything's taken care of.
And if I could just add one more thing, and I do this at the end of every discussion. We have checked your water. There's no lead measured in your water. It's in the service, not in the raw water or the water that's delivered to the resident. That's important for everyone to know, because sometimes it gets misunderstood.
Right. But if we take a sample from a home with a lead service or within the sampling pool, and that has the exceedance level, then all of us in town have to bear the burden of
That is
a
correct.
corrosion inhibitor and then having that added to our water,
That's
even
correct.
though our services are nice and clean.
Right.
So, Councilman Revelinsky, is your proposal then to replace all of the sample population?
The sample population, or not to replace them, but if they chose to replace, to offer some assistance, at least with the portion within the roadway. And I think that's a way to try and get us to the next level, and some of the folks who have been holding off at least would be willing to step forward, and it's something of an appreciation for, as a thank you for coming forward all these years and continuing to do the sampling, because it is a burden on those residents. So,
That's approximately how many?
and the sampling is what, 12?
Well,
I think?
it's estimated there's 20 to 25 that they know
In
of.
town.
Like, there could be a situation where it's copper from the curb stop to the house, and obviously, we're checking the house only, and if there's copper there, you can't tell whether it's lead from the street. So, it's difficult to know. Obviously, now, I can tell you that we always thought that, for example, Riva Avenue would have lead services, and when we had the problem down there and we had to change the water, we had all copper under. So it's not always that you have copper under, or lead under the concrete roads. Riva Avenue was WPA days when that was put in, so there was full copper, best copper tubing I've seen in my entire life there, but, just you had a heavy wall there, but, so you don't always have lead where you have concrete roads. It doesn't always match.
No, but I think we're more inquiring, do you know how many are
I think it's
in our
the estimate's
sampling
20 to 25,
within the town?
right, on lead services. You basically would extend it, if you do this program, you extend to everybody who has lead. You may find out there's more.
So I know that we're having a utility meeting coming up, and Council President Dixon mentioned a Finance Committee meeting. I think the Finance Committee might have to be the committee to weigh in on what we can do.
Finance.
Right,
I could bring it up at the meeting.
okay.
Well, I was interested in getting a general consensus here from the council, if it's something that we would want to look at, or if you feel that it's not something we would be interested in. Because I know in the past, when we've talked about it, I've had residents come up and say, you better not replace anyone's service because it cost me $12,000 to do mine. And I can understand that argument too, but at the same time, right now, we're faced with a particular situation with something of a deadline, a ticking clock, if you will, because of the fact that if we do fail one, we're gonna have to put this in. So I think it's important for us to at least address and say, do we want to evaluate this, or does the council have no appetite? So if everyone, we could go down the line for people to chime in and give their thoughts at least. Randy, you want to start with you?
Sure, there's not enough information. Need more information to make that decision.
Okay. I think it's something, that we should look at.
The point being, are we gonna work towards getting that information, or is it something that you just off the cuff are not interested in? That's the point I'm trying to get across here. Do you wanna work towards it, or is it something that you say, it's not fair to every single resident in town, it's not worth looking into? Is it a good idea, bad idea? Do you wanna evaluate it, or no? That's what I'm looking for.
Again, let me say, I need more information before I make that decision.
Okay. Ron?
Like I said, I'll look at it. Again, you have to look at the finance part of it. There's a lot of research that you have to do before you can really move forward in it. And like Mike himself said, there's no way he can give an accurate estimate of anything till you go forward with it. And his 25 could blow up to 75. We don't know. Anybody else?
Well, I'd like to see what the state program is going to be, and review it first. It doesn't mean just because the cities get it all, it's not the case. They are very concerned about everyone in the state. We're one of the oldest water infrastructure systems within the nation, and they're estimating there's 350,000 just in the state alone. Then again, this is Jersey Water Works, not me. who have lead service. I'm not sure how many that is in Milltown, but they're really feeling strongly to take care of this situation with everyone in the state. It's not just to pick and choose, this one gets that and that one gets that. Unfortunately, Newark, they had to spearhead that a little bit stronger because of their situation. And even the filters didn't accomplish getting the lead out. So I understand we need to review the program, what's come down, and there's other things coming between now and December. Not at liberty to say anything because they have to work it out first. So we need to look at the program, and I'm sure it's going to be benefiting everyone in the state, not just certain towns.
Okay, move on.
I would, I understand Councilman Revelinsky's concerns, I really do. I think he has very good concerns. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to concur with Council President on this. Being part of the Finance Committee, there is a huge potential for a price sticker that, on the town, that we don't know if we can.
And you're not gonna know.
We don't know. So, while Councilman Revelinsky has a very good point, I would have to concur that Council President Dixon has a better point, and that the Finance Committee would have to do some more research. I would be, if the surplus in our water utility was $2 million, it'd be a really quick answer for everybody up here, I think, Rich. But I think Council President Dixon is he's got money, dollar signs in the back of his head that he's thinking about towards the residents, and I would really have to get more information, and I think that's the route he wants to go. So I would side with Council President Dixon.
And I will do my best to see what we can discuss it.
Okay. Thank you.
Moving.
No, thank you.
Moving on, new business. Does any member of the council have any new business to bring before the council?
Yes, actually, I do. I've gotten several calls from residents about code enforcement, and we voted on a couple of ordinances tonight about fees, and I wanted to inquire about, do we have set fees for code enforcement violations? So if it's the first time you get this, I know you get a notice of violation, but then do you get a certain fee for a certain amount of times where you don't cut your lawn or trim the hedges or something like that?
To my knowledge, no. What generally happens is a notice of violation will go out. The property owner is given a certain amount of time to abate the violation, and if they do not, then we'll get an outside contractor to come in, and then those costs will be handed down to the violator.
Okay. So I am going to propose that we do an ordinance with a fee schedule for that, and that way it won't have to wait until it gets so bad that we have to turn into a lawn service business by sending companies out to do that. So in other words, it could be a deterrent if the fines go up before it gets so bad, because I think one of the things that I've heard an awful lot about is people not maintaining their property. I always encourage people to go on report a concern so we can keep track of it and keep doing that. But I think that if we could get something to make sure that those fees are put in place, that could be more of a deterrent, and that'll help our code enforcement officers so that we can see some of these residents that are absentee landlords or just have been let get run down, that we could keep the neighborhood nicer, because I've heard from people that are elderly and keep up their property or pay a maintenance company to come out, but they look across the street and have an eyesore. So if we could take a look at that, I'd appreciate it.
So you're suggesting that like an additional fine?
Correct.
So even if they have to send somebody out to clean, so you're gonna pay for that, and then you'll get a fine on top of that?
Right, like, so
Okay.
before we go to that, maybe, fine them first if they don't respond to if they just don't pay the fine, or pay the fine and let it continue to go, then that would escalate
Subsequent
accordingly.
violations, okay.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Mayor, traditionally, in most towns, and I'm trying to pull up our property maintenance code right now, and I can't get it, but traditionally.
It's a code, not an ordinance.
Well,
No, it's the same thing.
it's called property maintenance code, but it's part of your
Okay.
borough ordinances.
Okay.
Typically, there is a wide fine range. So for instance, in one of the towns where I prosecuted today, fine range is anywhere from $150 to $2,000, or $50 to $2,000. And oftentimes, the code enforcement officer, if they're issuing a violation, not a notice of violation, but someone has ignored that, and then they issue an actual summons, they'll write on that summons for the court to see and for the prosecutor to see, second violation, third violation, first violation. Because if you have, as in today's example that I dealt with, a World War II veteran who was in the hospital for a couple of weeks and got charged with not mowing his lawn, first offense, you want to treat that differently than,
Agreed.
like you say, somebody who is a commercial property manager who's ignoring it repeatedly. So
Agreed.
typically the court takes that into consideration.
Correct.
And the prosecution in terms of the fine that they'll recommend.
Right.
And I do think that's built, I have to go back and look at it. I haven't looked at the property maintenance in a bit, but I do believe there is a fine range that's taken into consideration. So, or that exists so that there can be some discretion implemented.
Okay. So that was my original question. So if there is, and I'd also be curious to know, just on an average year, how much we do collect in fines for property maintenance violations. Would that be
That's something you can keep track of.
we could get that from what, the court clerk? So say we could see what the fines were that were collected in 2018?
Okay.
That would be great.
Now, Mr. Bruder, I've been getting the same phone calls from different residents about property management, and not to say it's a resident or a commercial property, but some of the calls that I get are on absentee owner or bank-owned properties that don't maintain. That's the major complaint that I've been getting from, and I believe that this would help those banks and absentee owners get on the ball a little bit better.
And there's a way to vigorously address that. In fact, that can be something that the council can convey to the code office, is that we have a number of, let's say, bank foreclosures. Now the bank is sitting on the property and the paint is falling off and the grass is a foot high.
Right.
And recognizing that it's a commercial venture that is responsible or acting irresponsibly, certainly that can be addressed aggressively through your court system, through the code officer monitoring those properties and going after violators. And similarly with commercial property owners who don't live on the premises and they own 2 or 3 properties in town and live far off and don't have any knowledge of what the tenant is doing,
Right.
whether it's leaving garbage at the curb or not mowing the property. And when you have those scenarios, if you can convey to the code enforcement office that is not something that we're going to tolerate, pay close attention to those properties, they certainly can do that and address the situation aggressively.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
If I'm not mistaken, I do believe we already have fines, because once the notice of violation goes out, and then they have a certain amount of time to abate the issue, and if not, they're brought into court for not addressing that. And it's usually at that point where if they haven't paid by that time, the fines have gone out against them, and then we've sent out a contractor to clean it up. And then that's why we passed the ordinances here, to clean those up. Now, I know in some municipalities, they do have what they refer to as a zombie house ordinance. In other words, the ones that people have just walked away from, has been left vacant. No one really knows what's going on. I know Councilman Legati had one directly across the street from him where a tree, I think, was on the roof for gosh knows how long.
That's
until
correct.
the bank finally came around and said, oh, okay, well, I guess we'll address it.
So just about a decade ago, a law was passed where any of the homes that are foreclosed on or the bank takes over, they are required to send notification. They appoint someone to be basically the property manager, and that information is required to be sent to the clerk's office to be kept on file. And the problem is that they do that, but the people that they appoint aren't always as conscientious. So you try to contact them to have them do the cleanup, and you send them the notices, and it's exactly for what you're saying, because the bank owns it, they have no idea what's going on at the property. So that's what the law requires, but you still run into those scenarios. I know that we've had a couple in town where you're trying to contact the property maintenance manager, let's just say, to do that. Sometimes it's an attorney who they hire landscaping companies to come in, and that we've had difficulty doing that. So I do also believe that some summonses were issued, but the problem is with the cleanup side of it. So you can still issue a summons to somebody, but we still have to get the property cleaned up, so.
Correct.
I think coming at
So I think
coming
it'd
at
be-
it from both sides
It'd be
is-
good if we
is
could find
appropriate.
out, you know, what we've collected in the past and, you know, see if we're doing as rigorous a job as we could do for that enforcement.
Well, and it's also one of the benefits, and I probably should have brought this up in my presentation about the monthly billing for water rates, but again, a lot of times, if there's a vacant home, you catch it pretty quickly when you see no water usage. Now, if it's a vacant home and the lights were left on, or they have automatic lights, you'll still see some electric usage until we finally go in and have to shut them off, but that can take some time as well. I know, for example, there was a resident that passed away at the end of my block, and next of kin was contacted, but it had taken some time. His water was never shut off. It resulted in the water breaking in the kitchen in the winter, flooding the basement, and then that property that was in good shape now had to be sold at a much reduced price in order for it to be rehabbed. And I think there might have been some mold in there or whatever the issues were, but it required extensive work, and it's not the first time we had, our fire department had to go in and shut some valves off in a home on Riders Lane a few years back. And again, if the electricity was on and the basement was flooded, there's a big risk there to them for electrocution as well. So I think it's important that we do stay on top of this, more so for safety and to make sure that we don't have squatters and other things going on in town, rather than just about the property maintenance. But the property maintenance is a valid point. One more thing about new business, I'd like to applaud Councilwoman Mayer on her efforts with the county, and while the letter was a delightful read, I understand the design costs of $1.2 to $1.7 million for connecting to the MCUA. They do have AAA bond rating. I'm not sure what ours is, but I'm sure ours is pretty high as well. My concern is that for connection to the MCUA, and we discussed this last year when I had asked Mr. McClellan to come up with some rough estimates of rehabilitation for our force main. If we go to the same route we have now, which would be sticking with New Brunswick, the cost was somewhere around $8 million. If we take a new route along the train tracks and still go into New Brunswick, that was about $10 to $12 million, or $11 million for an average. If we had gone directly to the MCUA, the cost thereof would be about $14 million for construction. The other problem that we face is that by going directly to the MCUA, due to our low flow, we would actually pay a higher value because we're not giving them millions and millions of gallons a day in flow like the city of New Brunswick does. So it was suggested that we evaluate that a little bit further. And I had at the time suggested that we also reach out to the cities of North Brunswick, or the townships of North Brunswick and the township of South Brunswick, to talk regionally, because they've got a lot of developments planned and they're gonna need excess capacity for their force mains. So with that said, if we can share services with those towns that want a shortcut through Milltown to the MCUA, it could potentially offset our costs as well. And I think that's definitely an endeavor that we wanna take, especially since with Ford Avenue getting closer and closer to something finally happening over there, and us getting some costs or some monies for off-track improvement as well. We want to try and mitigate our out-of-pocket costs as much as possible, and if that means bringing in another town to help share the capacity of a main going to the MCUA, that should also help us keep our costs down, and that's definitely the approach we should take.
So was there, and I refresh my memory, was your collaboration with those other towns successful?
We had talked to them. At the time, they didn't have any plans or needs, but Councilwoman Kerber was at a meeting, I believe, 2 months ago or last month, where she had indicated, was it through the county green team? I forget which meeting you were at. But that they have
Yeah,
a lot
Water
of
Resources
development.
Association.
I'm sorry, could you repeat?
The Water Resources Association, they have quite a few things coming up.
So as those developments start to come online, they're gonna be looking for additional capacity.
Right. So, yeah, and that's exactly what we were gonna discuss at the next utility committee meeting. I do recall that we had Plan A, B, and C, and, you know, so this just gives us a little more information to deal with.
Very good.
Let me just say too, $2 million is a good start to start out. So $2 million takes that 14 million down to 12 million right off the bat.
Right.
So congratulations to Councilwoman Mayor for actually going out and doing something and going out and securing some funding for us. We'll figure that out down the road, but the money's there and available. Also, there's available from the MCUA is low to no interest loans that are part of that also. So again, congratulations to Councilwoman Mayor for her hard work and perseverance.
Thank you.
If there's no other new business, we'll move on to audience comments. The public comment portion of our meeting is to allow the public to bring to the council's attention their concerns or comments. The council will respect the public's time by refraining any comment until the speaker is finished. It should be further noted that public comment portion of our meeting is not structured as a question and answer session. If a member of the public has questions they seek answers to, an appointment can be made with the appropriate office during regular business hours or with a member of council during their allotted office meeting hours. Please state your name and address for the record when you come to the podium.
Good evening, Russ Einbinder, 220B South Main Street. Here on my position tonight as Cable Advisory Committee and Station Manager and all those other fun titles, whatever they all are, with the Channel 15. Tomorrow night, as you all know, is the first of our 2 council and mayoral candidate forums this year. It starts recording and broadcasting tomorrow evening live at 7:30. I'm going to ask, as I think I've told everybody, in fact, I think all the candidates are here, to be here no later than 7. And we will work things out, you know, the order of the way we do things with the moderator, et cetera. And the same thing for next week. Rich and Trina, the same thing, okay? Just want everybody to know that if you haven't been to it before, you're more than welcome to come tomorrow evening. If you get there between 7 and 7:25, we're gonna have a table right behind where I am now. And by the way, before I go on, I have to apologize. After the kids left before, somebody hit something, but that camera that's over there is not working at the moment, so nobody's seeing this ugly face, you're just seeing my big fat head from the back, but they can hear us fine. But they see you guys fine. But tomorrow, you're more than welcome to come and ask questions by submitting a question and handing it in. And if it's not something that was already asked by one of the reporters, we have 2 reporters coming tomorrow from the Sentinel and the Home News. And then afterwards, the moderator asks the questions from the audience. That's the way we're going to do it. Just so you know, anybody that's in Milltown can come. Be my guest. Hope to see you there. And good luck, everybody, tomorrow night. And thank you, no matter what, for stepping up and being part of Milltown.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Yes,
Lee
sir.
Weisenberger, 99 JFK Drive. Just curious, I might have missed a meeting. Are the water rates been established with New Brunswick with all the crap that went on? Put mildly, yeah.
So the water, I don't have them with me, but the water rates were established. There were some issues that occurred with their billing, and that's what has delayed everything that I believe that they've gotten straightened out. So we had some back billing from 2018 and then some adjustments to 2019 billing.
So the rates went up?
Well, the rates did go up, which that was something, I believe they went up 10% or so, and that was for 2019. But we had some issues with the billing that occurred in 2018 that we were trying to reconcile, both with the water and the sewer.
Right, I was just trying to figure that out, because, we knew it was going up, but haven't heard anything, so, okay, it's another hit.
Yeah, I know.
A little clarity, Mike, if I can. When you sample for the lead, that's just taken inside the house? It's just a water sample,
That's correct.
right?
It's a it's a first draw sample, so basically the resident is given an instruction sheet. You don't use the water for, I think it's a minimum of 8 hours. And so when they get up, the first thing they do is take the sample. It's basically a first draw sample, it's called.
Okay, so with this lead, copper, whatever, you could do every house in town, basically, and figure out whether they have lead coming in then.
Be very.
In theory.
Testing, yeah, in theory you could. Yeah.
Right.
Remember that fixtures back in the day also had lead in them, because if you look at brass at one point, bronze had lead in it, so sometimes the fixtures also will leach.
So you're gonna have an error of some point of figuring out what's what anyway, a plus or minus who knows what,
That's right.
right? But I'm trying to get, Ms. Mayor, like you said, had copper, lead. They said if you dig up the shut-off, you can tell.
That's right, right there. You'll be able to tell.
But we're talking all kinds of other stuff here, lots of money, statewide, whatever, and it seems like we're not gonna be able to figure out what's going on really without a plus or minus factor here of, like I said, an unknown.
You have been successful in getting some of the lead services fixed, and those have been tested, and they've turned out to be clean from the leaching. So it is working. It's just it's the cost is the problem.
Right, I understand, and I understand the town being an old town,
Right.
certain streets, Main Street, like you said, more than likely lead is here, and here, and after 1950, it's copper.
Right.
Right, but like I said, even if you had, like I said, a brass, fitting with lead, solder, whatever, that would come back probably minor though, on the.
Yeah, the lead solder is a smaller amount, obviously, but
Right.
they do have that issue where during the certain years, lead was permitted in the solder, and that does leach and will show. Remember, we're measuring parts per billion. This is
Sure.
20 years ago, we couldn't measure this, but this is 15 parts per billion. That's a very small amount, and the leaching, it'll pick that up.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get a feel, like I said, you're trying to estimate cost,
Right.
And it's really tough without, like you said, getting down there, unless you're gonna sample, like you said, what houses in town were built, what years, you could narrow it down, but, you guys are talking 25 houses, 50 maybe, I don't know. There's a lot of old homes in this town, so, where that's gonna go, I don't know,
But you're right, the testing would begin to eliminate it. So if, for example, we were to measure some homes, which the belief is that they're beyond, maybe constructed before 1950, and you tested them after the 8-hour time to let it sit, and you found no reading, then you would know that they have copper out to the street.
yeah.
So,
It's just the time frame. Like I said, the DEP, whoever's gonna come in and start, hey, we're gonna, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, and.
Well, that, part of why I brought this up is because if we have known homes with lead services, houses that we know have lead services, we're required to incorporate those in our sampling pool. So if we eliminate those by having those replaced or encouraging the residents to replace those, then we have to go out and search for more.
That's correct.
So this is a way to eliminate the ones that we know of and then move forward. Now, in Flint, Michigan, for example, which, really kicked off a lot of the stuff that occurred here, there was a time in my life where I sold valve boxes, the cast iron valve boxes that you screw down to shut your water off. They were replacing hundreds of thousands of those, and the way the specifications were written was, we're gonna go in and we're gonna replace your valve box. And when we dig down to replace it, if we see it's lead, we're gonna replace the lead service. But if we see it's copper, we're just gonna replace your valve box, make sure that the town can shut your water on and off like they should be able to, and then move to the next one. Again, they've got tons of federal money and state money that came in to support that massive project. But that was one way, is to replace those service boxes, which I'm sure there's more than a handful on a lot of the older homes in towns that we can't even operate.
Another question. Back to the DPW garage then for the exhaust system thing. That's in the budget, but apparently it's costing more than what was estimated. No?
No, there are certain requirements for purchasing that we need to do. So you can either purchase off a state contract, and in that case, you wouldn't have to go out to bid, Or if it's over the bid threshold, which in the Borough of Milltown is $17,500, we'd have to go out for competitive bidding. And so that's what this is about, is that we did get an estimate from a vendor, but they're not state contract. So therefore, and that estimate was over the 17.5 limit. So that was the only estimate we had on hand. So now we'll go out for competitive bidding because it is going to be over 17.5. But it was part of the budget of that project. It's just, this is a purchasing requirement. It's a procurement
So if you
requirement.
go out for bid and they're not a state contract, they can't bid?
No, state contracts you wouldn't have to go out to bid. But because there is no state contract for this service, now we go out to competitive bidding for, any vendor that
So
that
the
provides
initial
service.
estimate you got was from a non-state contract?
So what happened was there was an estimate, and it was brought to our attention that they at one point had a state contract, but that state contract was no longer valid, let's just say. So they hadn't kept up on it, or they hadn't renewed it. So at that point, then we need to go out for competitive bidding.
And it doesn't have to be a state contract at that point?
No,
So you'll get a better price now?
possibly. That's
I
what we're
guarantee
hoping.
you'll get a better price.
No guarantee, but that's what we're hoping for.
It could go either way, though.
Yeah.
It could be a
Yeah,
higher
but-
bid too, and then.
Yeah, but unfortunately, that's what
That's
we're
all I'm
required to
looking
do. Mm-hmm.
For clarity once again.
I think what Mr. Weisenberger's getting to is, like, more or less, why wasn't this included in the overall contract, the bid that went
Well,
out?
a
No.
little bit, but just wondering, this bid could come back high. We
Well,
don't know.
so you would need a different vendor. So when you sent out I wasn't here, but when the bid specs went out to construct the building, some of these ancillary things are not gonna be, different vendors going to do the work. You're gonna have to have different bids. That's all. I think the assumption was that this vendor had a state contract, and it just came to our attention that that contract is no longer available to them, so.
And you touched on Ford Ave. Could we get a little more info? What's going on?
We did submit, as of the last Ford Avenue Redevelopment Agency meeting, we did submit our offer letter to the developer for the price of about $1.75 million, which is $10 million valuation minus the cleanup costs, minus the demolition costs. This is what he would get. That offer letter was sent out. To date, I have not received anything in writing. However, the property owner does have 14 days to contest that. And it would be 14 days to contest the validity of the Ford Avenue Redevelopment Agency to take the property, after which, if he did not waive his right to that contest within 14 days, we would send him a letter of taking, at which point, I'm sorry if I'm going too fast, but at which point, after the 14 days, if he didn't contest our authority to take the property, we would then send the court and the property owner a letter of taking, that we would be taking the property. The chosen developer would deposit that money into the court system, at which time I believe the property owner has 60 days to contest the valuation of the property. So even though we take it, he still has to work it out more or less with the court and the chosen developer on what they believe is the appropriate price of the property.
Okay, so this process is going.
It's moving forward, but yeah, we're at a point right now where if he doesn't contest it, which I would highly doubt, that he wouldn't contest it, we're looking at anywhere between starting nearly immediately on the demolition work and cleanup on the site to possibly taking anywhere between a year and 2 years as they work out the numbers. But it's my understanding that once we submit the letter of taking to the property owner, that work can begin despite the fact that he's contesting the true dollar value of the property.
Okay, appreciate it.
Any other audience comments?
40 Van Loo Avenue, Phil Zambrana. Jeanette, will that bid, while we wait for the bid to come back, will that affect the completion of the project or not?
No,
No?
no, we
So
don't
it's fairly
expect
quick?
it. Yes.
And fairly quick installation?
Well, I don't know about the installation, but I know that the process to solicit the bids is fairly quick.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Randy Ruth, 88 Clay Street. I guess upon completion of this new firehouse, I'm curious what's going to happen to the two existing historic firehouses? If anybody knows about any plans at all?
Nothing's been
I think
presented to us.
things have been kicked around at several different meetings. A lot is going to depend on actually getting somebody in there once they get out. I mean, I don't know how much you are aware, but the firehouse on Main Street was condemned over 5 years ago, well over 5 years ago, by OSHA. They told the fire department, get out. The only reason they're still there is because of a building, the plans for a building were submitted. So they said, okay, as long as you're in the process of doing it. But that building's been condemned, so no matter what happens with that building, it's gonna take a lot of structural work to get that back and not condemned anymore. There's other properties over there, as you know, the Historical Society is right there. So a lot of working in that area that people are getting together, and we're talking to various different committees about what can and cannot be done.
And what about Cottage Avenue?
Cottage Avenue is something else. From what I understand, that's structurally sound. Probably God didn't strike me dead, so I guess I'm right on that. What's gonna happen with that, that's something that has to be discussed between the fire departments. They do have antique fire engines. They do have, the building as far as being occupied, again, as anyone knows, once they leave that building, and let's say it gets turned into a museum, then it has to be brought up to the code, which is, if anybody's been in there, the bathrooms are not handicapped accessible. There's a lot of work that has to go into it, and that's all being considered. I don't think, to answer your question, I don't think there's a sound decision made yet, but there's people looking at it on both of them as we go forward.
Is a sale being considered?
Is what?
Is the sale of the buildings being considered?
That's naturally one of the items, but again, what effect did they have and where they're gonna go?
All right, thank you.
I will tell you the one on Cottage Avenue Firehouse, some of the property around there, although the firehouse occupies it, is actually owned by the Board of Education. That's who owns the property. They have just been nice enough for the fire department to use that for years.
It's good to know. Thank you so much.
Any other audience comments? If not, council comments. Council member, have anything to say?
I have one, Councilman Dixon, because my phone has been lighting up in front of me, and I don't like to look at it while we're up here, but it's a message from an exempt firemen's association asking if the Borough Council had ever received the letter that they sent to our clerk regarding moving of the, let me see here, the monument, the Fireman's Monument, which is currently in front of the South Main Street facility, to another location. It's something that they'd like to maintain, that should we demolish or sell or whatever happened to that property, but since they are essentially vacating it for use by the fire department, they'd like to preserve the monument. And for those of you who've been around long enough, I believe that monument was actually located in the middle of Ford Avenue at one point. So they're looking for a home for it. It's a spot where they stop on the 4th of July parades. It's a spot where they pay homage on Memorial Day. So they're looking for a location along Main Street, so it's something that I think we need to consider. I'm curious, I don't know, Gabriella, did you ever receive a letter? Because I never got anything.
I don't recall anything offhand, but I can search the files when we come back to work tomorrow.
Okay.
If so, can you get, well, if so, let's get copies to everyone. It should be addressed at the next meeting.
You remember?
Perhaps an appropriate location would be in front of the Historical Society, since that property is pretty close. And I don't think that's going anywhere.
So were any of these options, the historic nature of the Main Street Firehouse, the monument, and/or the Cottage Avenue, it's been 2 years since we approved to build the new DPW and firehouse. Nothing has come up in that time when you approved the new one, There was no discussion of what to do with the old facilities or the old monument.
If I could answer that very, well, I don't know if I could answer it. I'll go to Councilman Legati. Nick, your relationship with the fire department, and then you're the liaison.
Well, the fire department has never sent me a letter that they want to move the monument or anything along those lines. It's the first I'm hearing about it. And as far as what's been discussed over the 2 years, Mayor Stieber sat up there and said that both firehouses would be up for sale to recoup some of the costs for the new facility. That was per the mayor.
I don't recall, but I'm not disagreeing with you, I don't recall.
Back when. That's the only discussion that I don't think it's ever come up after that. He made the statement that that both of the firehouses would be up for sale for rateables to recoup some of the costs for the new facility.
Because it was over 2 years ago when the bond was approved.
Yeah. For the next meeting, do you think you can find out where this letter is that they say they sent and we never got? And not only you, but Nick, yourself, and then maybe you could set up a meeting with our committee.
I can ask where that letter is or get a copy of it. It's not it's a quick email, but
Okay.
I haven't received one to date.
Okay. Very good. Is there any other council comments?
I have one. So I just wanted to follow up. I am planning on getting back on the strategic planning committee schedule. What I have to do before that is put everything together and do a PowerPoint presentation, and then we will form sub-teams about the smaller areas of focus. So one of those will be sustainability, and we have a couple of really enthusiastic volunteers for that. And so look for that coming up soon. I will present, God bless. I will present the PowerPoint to the council for their input in case anything needs to be changed, and then subsequently, probably in November sometime, we'll move forward with getting people involved in their area of interest. Also, I'd like to thank the Milltown Revitalization Committee for doing a wonderful job. I think it was one of the best attended Milltown days. It was a beautiful day. It was really nice to see everybody coming together and being out there on just such a lovely day. So I thank the committee for all their hard work in preparing and being there all day. And that concludes my comments. Thank you, Council President.
There is no other council comments. I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
Oh, by the way, I just wanted to say one more thing. Just congratulations, and I wanted to say it was really nice to have the Little League and the softball teams here. It was nice to see them here and give a little life to the council chambers. Thank you. Oh, so I move that resolution. Do I have to have a Okay, never mind. Sorry, I want to stay later.
Make a motion to adjourn. I did.
Thank you.
All in favor?